Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and anybody else who's watching. Yeah, it's me, Leigh G. Banks. Normally at this time of the week, I do an opinion programme on Air TV with the redoubtable Rodney Harth. Rodney's unfortunately had to dash off through lockdown to sort a couple of things out. So I thought I'd do this by myself. And as it is the 8th of November, as I'm recording it, you'll have to forgive me if I keep looking to the side there. That's where my notes are. And if Biden can forget who Mr. Trump is and describe him as Mr. Bush, well, I can forget what date it is. Yeah, it's the 8th of November. 2020. Yesterday and last night were one of the most momentous days certainly in American political history and in the politics of the world in so many ways. What happened yesterday, last night, and what's been said in the past few weeks, months, have devastating or positive consequences for the rest of the world. Now let's have a look at what happened. First thing is, Biden became the new president of the United States. And Mr. Trump, President Trump, went off and played golf and said he wasn't going to leave the White House. He's going to stay there. It's already barricaded in with fences. But it's a very strange set of affairs, isn't it? I think so. And the first thing I wanted to say as a sort of preamble is that as a journalist, I am accused, not me personally actually, not very often, of being a liar. Journalists are liars. We lie about everything. No, we don't. It just isn't true, right? It isn't true that we lie. There are rogues, there are those that do actually create things that shouldn't be said, but not many. The journalists I know, and I've known many, I've worked in Europe, I've worked in Britain, and I've even worked in America. I've worked in radio, I've worked in television, I've worked in newspapers, and I've worked in magazines. I've been an editor, I've been a sub-editor, I've been an investigative reporter, and now I do the Leigh G. Banks Preservation Society. And that's there, it says boldly there, to preserve the truth. I believe in the truth, and I believe that I've spent decades trying to find out what the truth is about politicians, about perverts, about businessmen. I was instrumental, as many know from what I've said before, in the hunting down of Cyril Smith, of Jimmy Savile, and Stuart Hall. Somebody people have forgotten about now. It was a knockout blow when I got him, actually. that might actually ring a bell with some people. But the thing that people don't understand about news is, and news providers like me, is that we're allowed opinions. See, everybody in the world is allowed an opinion, particularly since social media took over. And social media gives everybody the right to opinions. But the right to opinions on social media is to attack my right to an opinion. My right, I research everything that I say, unless I'm having a joke or whatever. But if I am trying to serve news, I do the damnedest I can to bring truth to what I'm saying, to the best of my ability. Now, the first thing that Trump did when he took office in 2016 was to discredit the press, particularly the press, television, and media generally, and jumped on the bandwagon of social media, where really at that time in particular there were no restrictions on what you can say. There was nothing there to make sure you were telling the truth. And the reason behind it was that he believed that by discrediting the media, he would have the only voice left that he could convince the world, not only the American people, that he was telling the truth. And it backfired on him. The media turned against him. And quite rightly so. If you attack the veracity of somebody who tells the truth for a living, they will turn on you. It's just a fact of life. So let's look at what Trump did on the way to losing the job of the world's most powerful man. The main attack he's carried out in the past few days and weeks has been against the electoral system in America. He says that it's corrupt. He says that it's fraudulent. He says that everybody's using it to gain their own political means. Well, of course they are. That's what elections are about. But why is it a fraudulent media? And where are the flaws in what he said? Here's what I see as a major one. In 2014, when he was standing against Hillary Clinton, he made the same claims, particularly when it looked like he was about to lose, or he was on the road to losing. He started saying that the political system was fraudulent, that fake votes, everything, the postal votes were just made up, everything. He attacked the voting system of the world's most powerful country constantly until he started to win. Then it didn't matter. Well, my question is very simply, if he was telling the truth about that system being fraudulent back in 2014, wasn't he then elected to the position of president fraudulently? And if he knew and had evidence of this fraudulent system, why didn't he take it to court? Then put together what happened in the 4 years between the first fraudulent election, as far as Trump is concerned, and the next fraudulent election, this one that's just gone. What happened? Did he do anything to reform it? Did he do anything to make it work better? No, I personally don't believe he did. I don't believe that he did anything at all to improve anything because it had served his purpose. He'd won. So was he a fraudulent president? Now, I say he wasn't for one reason, because I don't think the election was fraudulent. Either of them. Either of the elections were fraudulent. I think, yes, like everything else, it had its peccadillos. It had things that weren't right. Everything like that does. It's just the way of the world, unfortunately. You have to forgive me for keep looking down here, because like I say, that's where my notes are. So let's ask something else. Do we believe that Trump's actions weren't just political, they were actually divisive? Well, this is what divisiveness means. It means that you do your damnedest to make people disagree and ultimately oppose each other in any way possible, whatever, even down to riots. Now, I'm not saying for a second that Trump created riots deliberately, but there were certainly riots going on during his leadership. So was the fact that he lied about the construction of the election system divisive? I say yeah. Was the fact that everybody who has investigated his relationship with honesty and the truth says quite clearly that he's a liar, that he does nothing else but lie. Lie, 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 lie. It's no doubt that in the great ovar of American politics, there have been presidents who lied. I think in every form of politics, people in power lie for expediency. But Trump has been exposed by the media that tells lies, in 20,000 different forms of lying. 20,000. He's been in for 4 years. That's 5,000 lies a year. How many days are in a year? 365. That's 10, 12, 15 lies a day. Well, maybe those figures aren't true, but there has been a lot of research done into them. And even if only 50% of those figures are true, then really he's been telling at least 7 lies a day. That's a lot. It's not so much lying either, it's just a complete disregard for reality in many cases. Oh, it just fits his argument just to say this. It's a craziness. It's absolutely round the bend. Now, let's be fair here. Does Biden fit into that similar sort of situation? I don't believe he does. I'm not saying that everything he says has been checked, like he did describe the President Trump as President Bush. Now that, in its own way, throws a certain amount of doubt on him, but not about his honesty, just about his forgetfulness. You see, it just is a strange thing. Now, look at it this way. Do you know how much Trump spent on his campaign to become president again? In 2 years, he spent something like certainly not far short of $1.5 billion. Now, Biden did the same. Not far off. He spent less, and he used it mainly for advertising. Trump had the energy and the chutzpah to go on the road and go round and talk to people and tell people of what he believed and what he thought. That's an incredible amount of money. Isn't politics about the fact that you convince people about what you're saying, not that you buy them? Boris Johnson did the same, but you know how much he spent? $1.5 million to get elected. $1.5 billion, $1.5 million. Obviously, it's far fewer people in England, but it is something that you need to be aware of. That this election, one way or the other, like all American elections, was bought. Now, when he attacked the electoral system, he also attacked everybody involved in those counts. He, in one fell swoop, accused all of them of being dishonest. There's no other way to look at it. You know, the moderators, the counters, the people who delivered the votes to the counting houses, they were all dishonest. That's what Trump said. There's no doubt about it. How can that be true? Can that really be true? And bear in mind, ever since he made his first accusations against the electoral system, people like me have investigated it, and there is no palpable evidence of the system being corrupt. There are things that are wrong with it, but it isn't majorly corrupt. The other thing I'd like to look at is Trump's constant attacks on Biden's son, Hunter. Now, yeah, it's a tragic story. Hunter Biden has been and still possibly is, although he's supposed to be drying out, a bit of a wild child, a middle-aged wild child. Allegations of drugs, allegations of alcohol, allegations of wild sex parties, allegations of all sorts of despicable things, including the Ukraine and other business deals. Now, Biden could really have attacked Trump in that same way. But I don't think he did. I might be wrong. I stand being corrected. Tell me if he did. I don't think he ever went into the fact that Trump's brother died of alcoholism, that even Trump's sister, Mary, wrote a book about the family, saying basically how dysfunctional and cold and divisive the Trump family was. Look at Trump's history in business. He's done very, very well for himself. And like many, many businessmen, there are areas that perhaps need investigating. But I don't believe he was attacked because of his family. Now, why does he want to stay in power? Why does he deny that he's lost the election? Why does he threaten to hole himself up like some criminal in a dystopian movie in the White House? Is it because once he's lost the protection of his office, there will be certain investigations carried out against him? Things that have been talked about a lot. Again, his tax affairs, his business affairs, all sorts of things like that. Now, he could well be proved innocent in all these things, but at the moment, not much can be done about it. Now, some people are saying once he leaves the White House, he could end up in jail. Then there is the fact, and I'm not saying this because I don't really know anything about this. This is tickle-tackle. This is gossip. But it's suggested that his wife will now leave him because he's led her such a merry dance. And, you know, it's been talked about ever since he moved into the world of politics, that they weren't very happy together. Well, let's just finish now on this simple fact. I believe that Donald Trump didn't have a major connection mentally with what was going on in the real world. I think he knew exactly what was going on in the real world, but he couldn't make the connection for what reason, so things got a bit confused around him. And that's why he was accused of being a liar. Now, for a man to be in that powerful position and not to have a connection with the reality of the world is very worrying. The same is said about Biden. He's nearly 80 years old. He does a funny little run now and again. He forgets what he's talking about. He makes mistake after mistake after mistake, which in a 77-year-old granddad is fine. It's fine. Oh, listen to granddad. But this man now is going to be the most powerful man in the world. So, is it not time that American politics are scrutinised properly? Scrutinise the elections. Scrutinise the fact that do we want old men? Is it a country for old men? Do we not want people who are on the ball, energetic, like Trump is and was? Biden is a bit slow, but actually, if you listen to his speech last night, very powerful, very moving, very, very strong statement. Yeah, he came across really well, finally, after he'd won the election. Didn't do very well on the run-up. But politics in America needs looking at.